Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Here we are, David Attenborough style, in the bushes.
Well, we're not in the bushes, but the camera's in the bushes.
Alright, thanks for stating your... I mean, it's so straight. Alright, we're not in the bushes, yes. The camera's situated in the bushes and we're on a bench. Jeepers. We're not on a yellow submarine.
Oh, yeah, how do we do it? I don't know. Hare Krishna. Otherwise, I would be in a yellow anywhere but here, man. Anywhere but here.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Alright.
Chant a different melody every time.
Canto 3, Chapter 23, Text 8, Devahuti's Lamentation.
Okay.
Alright, let's see. It's a bit funny round here, mind you. Funny people. This is another park. It's a funny park. I've got to say that. We're on alert. Right, verse 8. Kadma Muni continued, what is the use of enjoyments other than the Lord's grace? All material achievements... Right, that's good. All material achievements are subject to be annihilated simply by a movement of the eyebrows of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By your principles of devotion to your husband, you have achieved and can enjoy transcendental gifts very rarely obtained by persons proud of aristocracy and material possessions. Purport. Lord Chaitanya recommended that the greatest achievement of human life is to achieve the grace of the Lord, love of God. He said, Prema Purmata Mahan. To achieve love of Godhead is the highest perfection of life. The same perfection is recommended by Kadma Muni to his wife. His wife belonged to a very aristocratic royal family. Generally, those who are very materialistic or possess material wealth and prosperity are unable to appreciate the value of transcendental love of God. Although Devahuti was a princess coming from a very great royal family, fortunately she was under the supervision of her great husband Kadma Muni, who offered her the best gift which can be bestowed in human life, the grace of the Lord or love of God. This grace of the Lord was achieved by Devahuti by the goodwill and satisfaction of her husband. She served her husband, who was a great devotee and saintly person, with great sincerity, love, affection and service, and Kadma Muni was satisfied. He willingly gave love of God, and he recommended that she accept it and enjoy it because he had already achieved it. So his point being, it's amazing, this rasa, this taste, trust me, enjoy this life.
Enjoy this life.
This spiritual life.
Enjoy life. That's what you say, isn't it? Enjoy life.
Yeah.
Love of God is not an ordinary commodity. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was worshipped by Rupa Goswami because he distributed love of God, Krishna Prema, to everyone. Rupa Goswami praised him as Mahavaranya, a greatly munificent personality, because he was freely distributing to everyone love of Godhead, which is achieved by wise men only after many, many births. Krishna Prema, Krishna consciousness, is the highest gift which can be bestowed on anyone whom we presume to love.
One word used in this verse, Nija Dharma Dohan, is very significant. Devahuti, as the wife of Kadma Muni, achieved an invaluable gift from her husband because she was very faithful to him. For a woman, the first principle of religion is to be faithful to her husband. If fortunately the husband is a great personality, then the combination is perfect, and the lives of both the wife and the husband are at once fulfilled.
There you go. Text 9. Upon hearing the speaking of her husband, who excelled in knowledge of all kinds of transcendental science, innocent Devahuti was very satisfied, her smiling face shining with a slightly bashful glance. bashful glance. She spoke in a choked voice because of great humility and love. Purport. It is said that if one is already engaged in Krishna consciousness and is rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord, then it can be supposed that he has finished all the recommended courses of austerity, penance, religion, sacrifice, mystic yoga, and meditation. Devahuti's husband was so expert in the transcendental science that there was nothing for him to argue about, and when she heard him speak, she was confident that since he was very much advanced in devotional service, he had already surpassed all transcendental educational activities. She had no doubt about the gifts offered by her husband. She knew that he was expert in offering such gifts, and when she understood that he was offering the greatest gift, she was very satisfied. She was overwhelmed with ecstatic love, and therefore she could not reply. Then, with faltering language, just like an attractive wife, she spoke the following words.
Text. No.
Go on then.
Text 10. Sri Devahuti said, My dear husband, O best of Brahmanas, I know that you have achieved perfection and are the master of all the infallible mystic powers because you are under the protection of Yogamaya, the transcendental nature. But you once made a promise that our bodily union should now fulfill, since children are a great quality for a chaste wife who has a glorious husband. Purport. Devahuti expressed her husband.
Glorious husband.
Oh, the key word, isn't it? Devahuti expressed her happiness by uttering the word bhatta, for she knew that her husband was in a highly elevated transcendental position and was under the shelter of Yogamaya. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, those who are great souls, Mahatmas, are not under the control of the material energy. The Supreme Lord has two energies, material and spiritual. The living entities are marginal energy. As marginal energy, a person may be under the control of the material energy or the spiritual energy, Yogamaya. Karma Muni was a great soul, and therefore he was under the spiritual energy, which means that he was directly connected with the Supreme Lord. The symptom of this is Krishna consciousness, constant engagement in devotional service. This was known to Devahuti, yet she was anxious to have a son by bodily union with the sage. She reminded her husband of his promise to her parents, I remain only until the time of Devahuti's pregnancy. She reminded him that for a chaste woman to have a child by a great personality is most glorious. She wanted to be pregnant, and she prayed for that. The word Stri means expansion. By bodily union of the husband and wife, their qualities are expanded. Children born of good parents are expansions of the parents' personal qualifications. Both Karma Muni and Devahuti were spiritually enlightened. Therefore, she desired from the beginning that first she be pregnant, and then she be empowered with the achievement of God's grace and love of God.
Love of God.
For a woman, it is a great ambition to have a son of the same quality as a highly qualified husband. Since she had the opportunity to have Karma Muni as her husband, she also desired to have a child by bodily union.
Any thoughts?
So she rejected love of God. Do you understand? Because her husband said, well, I've achieved all this and I can give this to you. And then Bob's your uncle. You just need to be happy with that and don't bother with all the headache and this, that, the other and having kids and all that what comes with that. But she said, no, hold on. First, I want to have a kid, and specifically a son, and then give me love of God. Oh, okay.
It sounds like most everybody in the material world, though, they want their cake and eat it too, as they say.
I guess so. Yeah. And she also don't seem to be too bothered that he's going to leave her once she does have a child, you know, which anyone else might be like, well, what's up with that? Where do you think you're going now? Yeah. You're stuck with this kid with me, and, you know, you better provide and, you know, but she's like, anyway, just give me the kid, give me love of God and Harry Ball.
Yeah, in the modern day, that's pretty normal, isn't it?
Well, minus the love of God.
Yeah, very much minus the love of God, yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, text 11.
Yeah.
Devahuti continued, "My dear Lord, I am struck by excited emotion for you. Therefore, kindly make what arrangements must be made according to the scriptures, so that my skinny body, emaciated through unsatisfied passion, may be rendered fit for you. Also, my Lord, please think of a suitable house for this purpose." Purport. The Vedic literatures are not only full of spiritual instructions, but are also instructive in how to prosecute material existence very nicely, with the ultimate aim of spiritual perfection. Therefore, Devahuti asked her husband how to prepare herself for sex life according to the Vedic instructions. Sex life is especially meant for having good children. The circumstances for creating good children are mentioned in Kama Shastra, the scripture in which suitable arrangements are prescribed for factually glorious sex life. Everything needed is mentioned in the scriptures: what sort of house and decorations there should be, what sort of dress the wife should have, how she should be decorated with ointments, scents, and other attractive features, etc. With these requisites fulfilled, the husband will be attracted by her beauty, and a favorable mental situation will be created. Did she see the camera?
Yeah, so she stopped.
She's like, "Hey, what's up with that camera in the woods?" Kind of
Teeny.
spoiled the whole setting here. We're talking about like creating proper environment for sex life.
I know, maybe.
Kids
Yeah,
spoil
gotta
it all.
be careful when you're
The mental situation.
public and talking about
The mental situation. The mental situation at the time of sex life.
two weirdos sitting on a bench talking about sex.
The mental situation at the time of sex life may then be transferred into the womb of the wife, and good children can come out of that pregnancy. There you go. It's like this. It's like the recipe for bringing good kids into the world, supposedly. Here is a special reference to Devahuti's bodily features. Because she had become skinny, she feared that her body might have no attraction for Kardama. She wanted to be instructed how to improve her bodily condition in order to attract her husband. Sexual intercourse in which the husband is attracted to the wife is sure to produce a male child. But sexual intercourse based on attraction of the wife for the husband may produce a girl. I'm not sure if that's hard and fast, but it's definitely a principle. That is mentioned in the Ayurveda. When the passion of the woman is greater, there is chance of a girl's being born. When the passion of the man is greater, then there is the possibility of a son. Devahuti wanted the passion of her husband to be increased by the arrangement mentioned in the Kama Shastra. She wanted him to instruct her in that way, and she also requested that he arrange for a suitable house, because the hermitage in which Kardama Muni was living was very simple and completely in the mode of goodness, and there was less possibility of passions being aroused in his heart. Interesting. I mean, it's like Prabhupada refers to the Kama Shastras. Of course, in the West, it's known as the Kama Sutra, but the whole principle is that there's a science behind all of these things. And so, environment, also another point is how environment affects us. So external environment has an effect on our internal stuff, like I think we were with some people the other day and just said that, if you're in a room that's just messy all the time, then your mind's going to be messy. Which reminds me, the room I'm in, it's often messy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, so we need to, things, there's a certain recipe or mentality, recipe for the mentality that we create in children. So how to create good children, create the proper environment that's helpful to stimulate, specifically if you want a male child, to stimulate the man so that he feels inspired and attracted. So she's thinking she's too skinny, emaciated, I think was the word that was used, right? So she's like, how can I sort myself out, so that I can make you more attracted to me? So it's interesting. It's like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he is that sex life which is according to religious principles. So if you're trying to do it for the right reasons, then Krishna is present. But, if you're trying to bring Krishna conscious children into the world, then there he is. But if you're not, then it's a problem. Correct?
Yeah, it's true. It's very sad of thinking like when I was in school and stuff, you can understand these things later, but the disruptive ones, or some come in, and because I like wearing my school uniform and everything, or everything, the tie, the blazer, everything. And some would come in, I can think back now, and they just had the white shirt and they didn't have the tie, and even the shirt was a bit dirty, and it's like progeny that wasn't wanted and just whatever, treated in a certain way, and then they act in a certain way, then they behave in a certain way, And it's quite sad, actually. It's a very great responsibility to bring a life into the world. Obviously we don't create it as God creates, but meaning the conduit or the instrument to bring them in the world. It's a very big responsibility. It's quite sad when it's neglected or not wanted.
Very sad. And that happens also a lot in the modern day.
Yeah.
A lot.
And that's what creates all the strife and the frustrations and problems, because you're dealing with people that are not properly seeded.
Varna Sankara.
Yeah.
Unwanted population.
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we read on? Read one more.
One more. Text 12. Maitreya continued, O Vidura, seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Kadma exercised his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion that could travel at his will.
Now, for all the husbands out there listening, this might not be possible for everyone. Kadma is a little bit special there. You can't really produce an aerial mansion. That means a mansion that flies around.
What about a mansion that don't fly?
Well, most of us can't even produce that.
There you go.
I was just with Bhaktivedanta Swami. We were talking about how in Indraprastha, which is where the place the Pandavas built before their exile, it's described that the walls were inlaid with jewels, the floor was inlaid with jewels, the jewels were so big and bright that they illuminated the place in the evening time, And then he said, who would ever put diamonds and jewels in the floor or on the wall, It's like, I said, yes, if someone gets, when you think of that opulence, and then you think, if someone gets a diamond on their ring, and it's even like, a little bit big, they're like, look at my diamond, It's like, what about those 15,000 diamonds in the floor there and in the walls? That's how opulent it was, So we can hardly put a diamond ring on the finger, right? Anyway, Hare Krishna. Purport, please.
Okay, I thought we had. Oh, you mean the actual purport? Yeah. Here the words Yogam Astita are significant. The sage Kadma was completely perfect in yoga. As a result of real yoga practice, there are 8 kinds of perfection. The yogi can become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, or lighter than the lightest. He can achieve anything he likes. He can create even a planet. He can establish influence over anyone, etc. In this way, yogic perfection is achieved, and after this, one can achieve the perfection of spiritual life. Thus, it was not very wonderful for Kadma Muni to create a mansion in the air, according to his own desire, to fulfill the desire of his beloved wife. He at once created the palace, which is described in the following verses.
And we'll have to wait to hear what that palace was like. And if you don't know, then you don't know.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
All right.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Granjaya Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna from behind the bushes.